It's time to look back on everybody's favorite herb lore minigame, Mastering Mixology. It's been a year since its release, and not only have I returned to it a few times to farm up Aldarium for prayer regen potions, but I've also gotten to use the rest of the minigame's rewards extensively. Before writing the script for the video, I rewatched my thoughts on Mastering Mixology from last year, and yep, my sentiments haven't really changed. I was hoping that they would revisit this minigame and take one more pass at improving it, but that did not happen. I have to point out that I'm not a programmer for Jagex. I don't know the behind-the-scenes spaghetti code or engine work that would be required to bring about the changes I'll be proposing. The stuff I outline is just what I think needs to be done to improve the functionality of the game and its items. What goes on behind the scenes to make that happen is up to them. Hopefully you agree and will like and share this video. If you don't, leave a comment telling me how you disagree. Now, allow me to highlight everything wrong with Mastering Mixology and its rewards, and how I think we can fix them. Let's jump right into the very start of the minigame, making paste. I've noticed an ongoing theme with Jagex content development over the years that they have to relearn the same lessons they've learned in the past multiple times before it sticks. One such lesson they learned with Corrupted Gauntlet is in the Pole 71 changes a few years back. Having to spam click to speed up an action isn't a meaningful gameplay mechanic. To ease the RSI on our wrists, they opted just to make this one tick by default without the need to spam click, since it's easily achievable anyway. Let's utilize this principle and make herb grinding one tick by default. If the RSI from cooking 20 fish every 7 minutes in Gauntlet was bad, imagine doing it continuously for hours on end. Personally, I would love to see some form of whole inventory processing. Better still, have the shop NPC let us turn in noted herbs for a fee and forego the token herb XP you get from processing it, if you so choose. Making the paste is slow and just not fun in general. This alternate processing idea could even be a potential Varlamore diary perk when that gets made. Speaking of paste, the Mox Problem still exists. Not only does PVM not supply any of these low-level herbs, Kingdom's balance of herbs gives the least amount of Mox. This is only exacerbated by the fact that the highest level Mox herb only gives 20 paste per, while the higher level herbs give 26 to 44 per, meaning you need 2 to 3 times as many herbs to get the same amount of paste. That also means 2 to 3 times as much grinding the herbs too, and we just went over how much fun that part of the minigame is. We need to convert one of the higher level herbs to Mox. Looking at the distribution, we don't need 3 Aga level herbs giving 40 plus paste. Either Lantodium or Dwarfweed would be good candidates. Lantodium because it's the least useful herb of the Aga group. You only need a small amount of anti-fire, and magic potions are dead content. However, when it comes to banking herb XP and herb secondary specifically, Dwarfweed is the most difficult of the Aga herbs. I know what you're thinking. You can do Tithe Farm and get grape seeds and Balaga's blessings, and then grow your own Zami grapes and turn them into wines and... Oh, I'm sorry, were you still coping? That's far too many steps and processes just to get a secondary, when the rest can be just picked from a bush. I would rather telegrab them. I'm 165 mil herb XP, I've never needed to telegrab wines or make them. All the wines I've gotten have been passively from PVM. The reason I bring it up is that I don't plant Dwarfweed. I'd much rather plant a lower level herb that has an easily farmable secondary than use my limited herb patches to accumulate a bunch of Dwarfweed that I then also have to go out of my way to get the secondary. No thanks. Anyway, make Dwarfweed or Lantodium blue paste instead of green. Now that we have the paste, let's move on to the minigame itself, starting with the UI at the top. It's pretty clean, you might say. Intuitive because it's color-coded to the paste used in the potion, but that's not the vanilla client. That's a RuneLite plugin. This is what it looks like on vanilla. You might be wondering, well, how am I supposed to know what ingredients to use in potions without a plugin? Like on mobile, for instance. Trial and error? Look it up on the wiki and memorize the 10 different names? Well, Jagex does have this handy-dandy manual in-game that you can reference with some neat color-coded pixel art to boot. This should not need to be solved with a plugin. In your interface, similar idea to the RuneLite plugin, put the color-coded pixel art you created at the start or the end of the potion name. Start would be preferable because it would be left aligned and more visually appealing in my opinion, but either would be acceptable. Next, we should discuss balance. The minigame has seen a few changes post-launch to the types of potions you prioritize, as well as the point cost in the shop, and it's still not where it should be. Most people I encounter doing this minigame complain about being way under on 1 or 2 types of points that they need to buy the stuff that they want from the shop, in addition to the stuff just costs too much. So let's look back on launch and pre-launch of this minigame and see if we can trace where the design went wrong and what I think we could do to fix it. Just a disclaimer, this is all speculation, trying to think through it rationally based on the outcome we saw in the proposal blogs and release. I don't know for sure. In their initial proposal blog, the paste per herb distribution was very different. They listed them as 1 to 4 paste per herb rather than the 10 to 40-ish we see now. Having that extra digit to work with makes it easier to balance, so I'm okay with that 10 times multiplier. The problem was the value each herb provided was largely based on the GE cost of the herb at the time, rather than the level of the herb itself, which would be a more timeless or evergreen designed, more robust if changes to the rest of the game happen. The red paste, Lye, consisted of the most expensive herbs, Ranarr, Snapdragon, and Torstal. So logically, to appeal to a normal account and trying to convince them to train Herblore with this minigame, on a cost per XP basis, the red paste should award the most experience. And the inverse is true of the blue paste, Mox, consisting of the cheapest herbs. And green paste, Aga, is somewhere in between. So they came up with an ingredient list for the 10 combinations, with MMM being the lowest potion and LLL being the highest potion. And the rest of the potions with more L's than A's and M's gave experience accordingly. Before the minigame was released, they adjusted the list so that the cheap low-level herbs are blue, the mid-level herbs that spanned between the highest cost herbs, Ranarr and Snapdragon, were red, except Irrit, which is green, so someone starting the minigame at 60 has access to green paste, and so Irrit wouldn't be the go-to red paste, and then the rest of the herbs above Snapdragon are green. There's a bit of a contradiction since green herbs are higher level than red, yet red potions require the highest level to make, and the word the most experience, but again, it was initially balanced around the cost of the herb, rather than the level or the experience the potion the herb makes would give through traditional herblore training. Next important thing to remember about the initial state of the minigame was, on launch, you could only turn in 1 potion of the 3 orders shown. I'm guessing initially the design was simply you get an order, you make a potion, you turn it in, but someone asked what if you don't want to make that potion, either due to a point imbalance or to mitigate an unlucky streak of low XP potions or wrong colors, or the fact you may not have the herblore level to make it. That was a thing. The simplest solution was we'll give them 3 options to choose from. Every piece of content the devs create, they have to ask, can this be abused? And if so, how? And what can we do to thwart that exploitation? Given what we outlined earlier, if you're doing this minigame to maximize the herblore experience you get per herb, which of the 3 potions would you choose to do? Well, simply the ones with the most red, followed by the most green, and avoid blue as much as possible. The devs knew this, and it would probably surpass the expected XP rates they were aiming for compared to a normal, balanced approach. To combat this incentive, they tweaked the balance of the colored paste behind the scenes. It's not an even 1/3 chance randomly for each color. It's more like 30, 33, 36 for red, green, and blue, but I don't know the exact distribution. The point is, blue is more common than green is more common than red. How do I know this? Because on release, this is the strategy I did. If it was an even distribution, my points should have been mostly red, some green, and the least amount blue, but it wasn't. It was mostly red, second most was blue, and green was the least. The only way that could happen is a weighted distribution. Now the question is, how do you balance the shop around this knowledge? Because you can't just make it require an even balance of all 3 now that blue is way more common than the rest. So I think they either did some testing themselves or simulated a bunch of trials. Through whatever means of empiricism, they found that red was generated most, followed by blue, and green being the least by far. Makes sense, that's exactly what I was generating, because again, you're focusing on doing the most red potions first and foremost, and blue is just more common than green. So that's why on release, all the items in the shop were weighted most heavily red, followed by blue, and lastly green. But, dear viewer, the story doesn't end there, because shortly after release, due to player feedback, they allowed us the ability to do all the potions on order. Well, if you did all potions all the time, your balance of points would be heavily weighted blue more than green, and green more than red. However, the shop wasn't changed yet. They wanted to see how the meta would shift before making shop adjustments. Strategies like all red potions minimize blue were still preferable given the large red weighting in the shop, and in my case, because I was severely limited on blue and wanted to make it stretch further. There was no incentive to make all 3 potions, so why not skip the lowest XP potion? So a couple of weeks pass and they finally make some changes to the minigame's balance. Oh boy, did they make some changes. First, they lowered the cost of the shop rewards and rebalanced them to be almost even across the board. I think they still assumed people were prioritizing red, and because blue inherently is more common just as a result of the weighting behind the scenes, green is still the least needed paste. But at least now shop costs were closer to the ratios we were actually seeing in the minigame. However, they also changed the experience progression of the potions being made. Notably, they took LLL from the highest potion, remember they made red the best because it cost the most to make the paste, and arbitrarily made it the lowest potion. In fact, all 3 potions of a single type were now the lowest, and the highest potion is now the Mixalot, requiring 10 of each colored paste. Generally speaking, red gives more XP than green, more than blue as you go up in the list. Mixalot and the triple potions are the exceptions to that trend. If I'm trying to understand the current design's goal, based on how the minigame is structured now, I would conclude that they really want you to make an even balance of paste. Mixalot is the highest, best potion you can make. It's a perfect balance, the peak of balance. Mixalot gives twice the points that's required to make it. It's a 2 times multiplier on your paste, 4 times if you put a digweed in it, and you should whenever possible. On the other end, the triple potions consisting of a single type award the lowest XP and 2/3 of the points that go into it. They're the exact opposite of balance. Unfortunately, because you start the minigame at 60, this is the only thing you can make. In addition to those tweaks, they also added a 20 and 40% bonus point multiplier for making multiple potions at once to incentivize you to make all 3 potions every time, regardless of what the order was. So it seems like they really want you to make all 3 types in equal portion. So then why is there still a progression and a leaning towards red-based potions for the remaining 6 combinations? Are they still trying to offset the additional cost of red herbs, or what? It's overly complicated for no good reason. Here's what I would do to fix points and experience rates generated in the minigame. I'm assuming with this focus on balance that the weighting ratio has already been changed to an even 33% across the board. If it hasn't been adjusted, do so. It should be 33% for each. Next, remove the level requirements for all the higher level potions. No more progressively unlocking them as you level your herb lore. All 10 combinations should be available at level 60 herb lore. You get full access to the whole minigame as it was designed from the get-go. Then, and this will require a bit of simulation and tweaking, take a lesson from Herbivore. Herbivore doesn't fundamentally change from level 80 to 99 Hunter. It does, however, give you more experience per catch as you level up. It's simple, it scales with your level, and that's what should be done for this minigame. Make all the potions give the same experience. No progression or leaning towards red potions, just a flat experience that scales with your level. And hell, tie the point bonus for turning in all 3 potions at the same time in with the experience too. Further emphasize making all 3 potions regardless of what the orders are, just hammer that point home. You want an equal balance, and the optimal way to play this minigame is to make all 3 potions every time regardless of type. Doing all of this will give you a near perfect balance. Now let's talk about Mixalot, the epitome of balance and your ultimate design goal for this minigame. It feels really good getting a Mixalot order, and even better if you have a digweed, because you know your paste is going that much further. At a baseline, it's a 2 times multiplier. Digweed makes it a 4 times. And by making all 3 potions for the 40% additional boost, it brings it up to 5.6 times the input. 10 paste turns into 56 for all 3 types in a single potion. It's amazing. However, on the other side, we have the triple potions. These suck. It sucks getting stuck with 3 triple potion orders, and even if you made all 3 potions for that 40% boost, they still don't return even a 1-to-1 ratio of points. The triples 30 paste turns into 28. Adding 8 but it's still not a 1-to-1 return. The baseline potions turn 30 points into 42, a gain of 12, which is a net difference of 14 points compared to a triple potion. If you have 3 good potions in the batch, you end up with 126 total points for 90 paste, a 40% gain. If you have just 1 triple potion in that batch of 3, the total drops to 112 points for 90 paste, only a 24.4% gain. If you have 2 triples in the batch, the total is 98 points for 90 paste, 8.9% gain. If all 3 are triples, the total is 84 points for 90 paste, a 6.7% loss for the same amount of work. So I recommend that in its current form to avoid triple orders like the plague. They take way more points than the bonus gives to the other potions. If you get stuck with 3 triple potions, make 1 to cycle the orders and then continue. The only exception to this rule is the amazing Mixalot. If Mixalot is on the list, do all 3 potions every time. The 20% per potion bonus on a Mixalot adds 12 points, 4 per color, which more than makes up for the base 10-point loss on triples. Ideally, Mixalot is being doubled by Digweed, making it even more impactful, but even still, if Mixalot's on the batch, do all 3. Aside from Mixalot orders, triples are not worth doing. Ever. They can argue all they want about how Mixalot balances out the triple potion shortfalls. Reminder, Mixalot doesn't unlock until 81 Herblore currently. That's 21 levels of dealing with triples before you can begin to even the score. And regardless, they still feel like shit, especially when you get stuck with 3 of them at once. So bring the triple potion point balance up to 1-to-1 like the rest of the potions. Let Mixalot continue to be a big dopamine hit when you get these orders. People complain that the shop prices are too high. This change to the triple potion alone will be a reasonable bump in points per hour. You might still need to circle back and adjust the shop prices after these changes, but this would be a good start. In summary of the minigame itself, make each ingredient type equally likely to appear, if they aren't already, unlock all potion combinations at level 60, scale the XP per potion based on your Herblore level regardless of potion type, tie the 2 and 3 potion order multipliers into the XP rate balance in addition to the points awarded to emphasize making all 3 potions every time. Bring the base ratio of points to paste of the triple potions up to 1-to-1 like the rest, and leave Mixalot as it is currently. Now, let's talk about the reward shop. People still complain that the rewards take too long to unlock. I myself do not really echo that statement, but for now, the buff to triple potions and the incentive to make 3 potions every time for that 40% bonus will suffice. You'll need to adjust the mix of the 3 types to be even across the board. It's no longer weighted towards red and blue. Through the course of unlocking all the rewards from the minigame, with a balanced ratio of paste required, and no reason not to make one type of paste over another, looking at you, Red, the resulting points you get should be a pretty even balance, and so the shop should reflect that. Inevitably, you'll have 1 or 2 types slightly higher than the rest, but it should be pretty close to balanced. If it isn't, and you just got an unlucky streak of one color, we need a way to resolve that. You could do some sort of point conversion in the shop, but to prevent buying the cheap Mox herbs, getting a bunch of blue points and converting it, the ratio would have to be pretty steep to ensure it's only used as a last resort, so I'm not too fond of this approach. I would instead use the Aldarium secondary to fix the imbalance. Aldarium currently costs 230 total points. With the 40% bonus for making all 3 potions on the order, it requires 5.5 potions to generate the needed points. Basically 2 full order sets to get 1 Aldarium. This is way too much for this herb secondary. I would like to see that lowered to at most 3 potions with the 40% bonus, so like 120 total points. Then, each Mixalot you make is worth 1/3 of an Aldarium basically. And a Mixalot with a Digweed is like an Aldarium on its own. So the full order with that Digweeded Mixalot will get you 2 Aldarium. The vaunted 3 Digweeded Mixalot order would get 4 Aldarium. Really focusing in on that Mixalot dopamine here. But what I would suggest for the shop is to make 4 separate offers on sale. They would look something like this. Each one requires all 3 types. You can't just buy cheap herbs and focus one single type. 3 of the offers require double of one type to help fix whatever minor imbalance appears, but the majority of what will be sold long term here is that even 40-40-40, assuming the rest of the minigame is balanced appropriately. I'm not going to try and discern what the rest of the rewards should cost at a baseline. I didn't think the rewards took that long to get from this minigame compared to other minigames, especially for how impactful they can be, and again, the buffed triples will help with that. So anyway, on to fixing the rewards themselves. Let's start with the reagent pouch. This item is a container that can hold 26 of each herb secondaries. While it's open, any secondaries you harvest or pick up off the ground will be stored in the pouch. I've used it on bush and cactus runs, gathering Mortmire fungus, and even brought it with during Tura tasks from Konar to bank some extra limwords. However, I would argue that the main function and appeal to getting this item is on the potion making side of things. Using the reagent pouch allows you to do 26-26 potion making rather than the traditional 14-14. When you make a potion with the pouch in your inventory and it's filled with the secondary getting consumed in the process gets pulled from the pouch automatically. That means more AFK time making potions, less time spent interfacing and banking, or it would if not for 2 design flaws that, when they interact, make it a clunky endeavor. The first design flaw is that you have to withdraw the secondaries into your inventory and then fill the pouch, much like you would an essence pouch. The second flaw is this process doesn't work well with the prescription goggles' 10% chance to save an ingredient. What ends up happening is 2 or 3 secondaries remain in the pouch, so next time you pull a full inventory of that secondary to fill the pouch, not all of them go into the pouch. The 2 to 3 that got saved on the last batch then mean there's excess in the inventory, and then you have to deposit the excess back into the bank before withdrawing the unfinished potions and continuing. This is convoluted as hell. You can fix both design flaws with a single change. The fill option of the pouch while in the bank interface should be changed to pull all viable secondaries from the bank and add them to the pouch. This is a similar functionality to how the forestry kit can store and withdraw all of your leaves to and from the bank with a single click of the use feature. The coal bag also works like this, filled to the brim or empty. This modified fill option would mean it gets filled to the top every time, without regard to how many secondaries are left in the bag from being saved by the prescription goggles. Then there's no need to clear the inventory after filling it like the old way. Another feature people were surprised wasn't included with this reagent pouch was the ability to use an unfinished potion with their pouch and start the potion making process. You must currently start the process the old-fashioned way, unfinished potion plus secondary. It's just the secondary in the pouch gets consumed rather than the one in the inventory. This wouldn't allow us to do 27-27 potion making because the pouch can only hold 26 secondaries. The goggles don't help this situation either. The process would still only do 26 potions even if the goggles saved some secondaries. It's just how the process works. That said, I don't think anyone would be opposed to increasing the capacity of the pouch to 27 to enable this end. Or, if you like round numbers, 30 ingredients, like the herb sack can. Personally, I'd like to see the limit significantly higher, even potentially unlimited. It would be nice to bring it on a farm run and actually be able to harvest a full snapegrass patch, or do more than one bush before it fills up. You know, I only have one minor gripe to these things. They don't work on crystal dust for making divines. Serum 207, who cares, it's technically a different herblore process and fine whatever its legacy content, but crystal dust and divine potions were made in 2019. I think it has something to do with the fact it's untradeable, but Nightshade is also untradeable, and the goggles work just fine for it. I don't know. Make the dust tradable if that fixes it. The goggles should work on divines. Recently, this item has gotten extra loadouts as well as the ability to fill directly from potion storage. Both are great additions to this item, but I think we can do a bit better. This item was originally called the Pre-Pot Device. While they have changed the name, the intent of the item, the reason it exists, and the problem it's trying to solve is the large amount of consumables people use to ready themselves for a raid or whatever piece of content they're going into. The most notable part of pre-potting that was omitted from this item was hard food. If you're using divines, you either have to pre-eat an angler to overheal before using the chugging barrel, which then pops the divine's 10 or 20 damage hits, or eat a shark after the barrel, which takes a bit because potions don't combo eat into food. Food combo eats into potions. And then you have to eat again to overheal. Let us add hard food to the chain so we really can do it all in one inventory space, in one click. That probably means we need a longer chain than the 5 slot cap we currently have. Make it 10. Why not? And if we have an imbued heart or saturated heart in the inventory or bank, let us put it in the chain as well. The goal should be one inventory space, one click. That's what we were sold. That's what we want. I hate Chargescape. I really do. I don't like the excuse of we need to give people a reason to do this content after they get all the uniques, so let's make the uniques require a currency that only comes from here, so they have to keep coming back. It's ridiculous. Give me a fully functional item that I can use, one that I don't have to keep track of and manage charges. As much as I dislike Chargescape, I hate micro Chargescape even more. That's the very small, limited charges of jewelry, like slaughter bracelets only having 30 charges, or amulets of chemistry having 5 charges. Dragonstone jewelry is passable because you can recharge the whole inventory at once by bringing it to a well, the lunar spell, or a charged Dragonstone jewelry scroll. It's really just the minor jewelry that's annoying because you have to not only craft it via a 1313 process, which in itself is tedious, but enchant it as well. And in the case of amulets, you have to string it too. All of that for 5 charges, 5 extra doses of potion. I have not used amulets of chemistry in any meaningful quantities, nor do I recommend it. The Alchemist's amulet helped shift that recommendation. Instead of only getting 5 charges with a measly 5% chance to give an extra dose per amulet, by tossing them into the Alchemist amulet, you can get 10 charges and a 15% chance of an extra dose. Having a chargeable version like that of the Ring of Suffering for Rings of Recoil is preferable to the microcharges because you can just toss in a boatload of charges and not worry about it, at least for a while. You aren't required to watch your chat messages like a hawk to catch the "and it crumbles to dust" notification. However, in the case of the Alchemist amulet, you burn through charges faster than before. If your desire was to do all of your herb lore and get extra doses the whole time, you will have to make more amulets of chemistry than before. The Alchemist amulet gives you twice the charges, but it uses them 3 times as fast. And for that reason, I only use it for rarer potions like Prayer Regeneration or Surge potions. I would like to see this item be made into an infinite version. The cost for infinite charges is typically set at 1,000 to 5,000 uses, like the Teleport Nexus or Mounted Xerix Talisman in your house respectively. The most common one people interact with is the Bofa, which requires 2,000 shards to corrupt. 200,000 shots of the Bofa is about 167 hours of continuous combat. It's a no-brainer for the Bofa if you plan to keep the weapon for a long time. The main appeal for infinite charges for me is removing the need to maintain it. I don't have to think about whether or not it still has charges, I just know it does. Grab and go. So how many amulets would be required to fit this criteria of would probably never use that many? Let's start with 1,000 and see what that entails. 1,000 amulets of chemistry would be 10,000 charges when used with the Alchemist amulet. With a 15% chance to proc, that's 66,700 potions. At roughly 100 to 180 XP per potion, that's only 6.7 to 12 mil herb lore. Almost enough for 99 if it was used the whole way. I would even be okay with the upper bound of that range, 5,000 amulets of chemistry to fully charge. It can currently hold 5,000 charges, so it would be the equivalent to 10 full charges of the amulet, exactly like the Bova, actually. You would have to train 33.5 to 60 mil herb lore to use up all the charges normally, assuming you would use it for every potion, and if it was infinite, you would. Realistically, people aren't going to be doing that much herb lore. Anyway, 1,000, 5,000, I don't really care. Just let me charge it infinitely so I can stop thinking about it. Last but not least, how to fix potion storage. When this announced, I was excited to say the least. Free up all that bank space of onesie-twosie potions, but after finally unlocking it, it turned out to be a clunky, unusable mess. The main feature of collecting all the odds and ends of potion doses was captured beautifully, but using potions from the storage is a headache. First gripe to address for me is there needs to be a separate toggle for automatically depositing unfinished potions into the storage. Under no circumstances have I made unfinished potions and didn't want to make them into finished potions in the immediate future. You're certainly not going to train Herblore from the potion storage with secondaries being stored in the main bank. What's the point of this feature anyway? The rest of the issues with potion storage stem from the fact that the storage interface is not integrated into the main bank at all. The potions in the bank are an entirely separate stack than what is in potion storage. Anytime you need to refill the stack in your bank, you must navigate to the potion storage, set the dose to the amount that you want, withdraw the potions, navigate to the bank settings to turn off deposit to potion storage option, then navigate to the main bank, deposit the potions, and lastly, remember to go back and re-enable deposit potions to potion storage. Did anyone at Jagex attempt to use this thing beyond simple QA functionality testing? I think the disconnect is not understanding how players prepare for content. Most of us use inventory setups or bank tag layouts, and in those tabs, we have everything we need customized for a particular piece of content. Gear, food, and potions. We aren't getting everything about potions and then going to this new storage tab to grab the potions. That's not how we operate. I think to fix the functionality requires 2 steps. The first step is giving us the ability to create bank placeholders without the need to deposit the actual item first. This has been a long-awaited feature of the player base, and it would be a good excuse to bring it to the game. Add a button that says create placeholder. We would search for the item name that we want to add. This would allow us to import, export bank layouts, organize our gear tab in preparation for future editions, and personally, allow me to fix accidentally releasing placeholders on mobile. I don't know if you know this, but tapping a placeholder on mobile clears the placeholder. It's really annoying. So after we have the ability to create placeholders with the potion storage unlocked, we need new placeholders for potions that pull directly from potion storage. The number displayed for the quantity on the potion in the bank would be the number of potions of that dose that can be withdrawn from the potion storage. If you have all 4 dose types of the same potion in the main bank, the number would all be in reference to the current number of doses in storage. For example, if you have 1,000 doses, it would show 250 4 dose, 333 3 dose, rounded down, 500 2 dose, and 1,000 1 dose potions. If the new placeholders included unfinished potions, and I think they should, they could pull those from storage too, and then there's no need to separate that toggle. Again, the aim is to integrate potion storage within the main bank. It shouldn't be a separate storage location. And if you can pull that off, and potions from the main bank take from potion storage without having to open potion storage interface like the Chugging barrel can now, let's talk about the seed vault real quick as long as I've got you here. This has been a long-standing problem since 2019, when it was first added to the farming guild. It suffers from the same issues as potion storage, but it's even worse. It's 2 steps further removed from being integrated than potion storage is. You can't open the seed vault within the bank interface, and it's only accessible in the farming guild. Unlike potion storage, which can be accessed through any bank location, through the potion storage interface, even as clunky as it is. I don't use the seed vault. I do a lot of farming contracts, even post 200 mil farming, just to get good herb seeds. The reward from contracts are a seed pack, which give you every kind of seed. That's a large variety, most of which I don't actually use. But when I go to open these seed packs, I don't swing by the seed vault to sort out the seeds that I don't need. It's also not worth the time to drop the seeds I don't need. So what I do instead is I go to the bank, I deposit all, and just let the 50 bank slots sit there dormant. What I would love to see is the redesigned potion storage integration applied to the seed vault. Ideally, you just unlock it when you get access to the farming guild, but you could tie it into X number of farming contracts as a reward for supporting the farming guild, whatever. Point is, integrate it into the bank with a similar deposit to storage option and custom placeholders that will then pull from that storage. And that's how you fix mastering Mixology and all of its rewards. You made it to the end of the video? Well done. Let me know in the comments if you liked this kind of video And if so, what minigame or other piece of content do you think I should try fixing next? Thanks to all who replied to my community post to share your gripes with the minigame. Hopefully my proposals address the concerns you brought up. Special thanks to our channel members for tossing some GP my way. Members get access to short form videos where I share my opinions about the update and poll blogs. If you'd like to join us, you can for as little as 99 cents. Thanks again. Oh, we finally got it. Oh, wait for this drop. Wait for this drop. And they're all digweeded as well. Oh, I can't wait. Look at this. Look at this drop. Look at this drop. Boom. 168.